Hello, Falcon families. Thank you for joining us today. Despite the uncertain circumstances in which we find ourselves, your Forest Heights faculty and staff are truly excited for another year of cultivating the hearts and minds of your children in their pursuit of truth, goodness, and beauty. Since our world has been rocked by this pandemic and the repercussions, we know that many of your lives have truly been deeply affected. Our goal as your school leadership is to continue to provide the excellent education you chose us for in the first place, while assisting you to navigate the many educational decisions that you still have to make. I would be remiss right now if I didn't acknowledge that there are some challenges for many of you that are exceedingly difficult. They might be related to a family member who is in poor health, or the true challenge of accomplishing the mandated distance learning while also providing for your family. These are decisions that you alone are able to make. Please know that you have our sympathy. To ease this burden, we have made our distance learning plans as engaging and as flexible as possible. It is these plans that this town hall was created for, and I am excited to share them with you today. Joining me today are Assistant Headmaster Mrs. Ramirez and Mrs. Ruiz, our Campus Special Education Coordinator. Together today, we plan to provide you with detailed information regarding our class schedules for the next few weeks of distance learning. We want also to inform you of some of the events that we are scheduling prior to the first day of school, discuss our planned training opportunities for students and families so that we can all make best use of this digital educational world that we are now living in. We'll also take a few moments to share a little bit about our campus-specific plans for when we do return to the school, sometimes called brick and mortar, but when we just return to normal school, a campus. Also, our special ed coordinator will be spending some time addressing specific issues related to special ed, ESL, and 504. And then we'll have a good amount of time at the end to address many of your questions. Throughout this meeting, I encourage you, parents, please seek first to understand. There are many details that need to be conveyed. We will do our best to answer as many questions as we can today. However, we will not be able to answer every question posed during this town hall. There are a couple of people in other rooms who will be addressing quickly some, and we'll be sharing some clips as well. But when this meeting is over, we will be creating a frequently asked questions page that will be on our website of those questions that are shared by most of you. If, after a Q&A time at the end of the town hall, and after reading the frequently asked questions and possibly reviewing some of the recent emails that we've inundated your inbox with, if you still have questions, please don't hesitate to ask. We will be answering each email individually. Now, one last item before we begin. It is one thing I do want you to keep in mind is for Forest Heights, there are many aspects of our distance learning plan that have been dictated by outside agencies, whether those agencies be the state and local government or our own district, Great Hearts, Texas. Many of the decisions that form our town hall were actually addressed on Monday, this past Monday, July 27, during the Great Hearts, Texas town hall. A link right now is being posted in the chat. And once this town hall is done, don't immediately go right now, but once this town hall is done, we highly encourage you to go and watch that. If you've watched it, rewatch it. There's a lot of information, and it's very important to understand why some of the decisions of what we're doing, why we're doing them. All right, so our primary goal today is to help you understand the daily schedule that your children will be experiencing in the first few weeks of distance learning. It is important to note that that for those families who choose to remain home and continue their education in the distance learning environment, rather than choosing to return to the physical school after September 7, the plan discussed today is going to be the new normal for as long as you remain in distance learning. All right, so my assistant headmaster, Mrs. Ramirez, has spent countless hours over these last few weeks editing and honing these schedules. We do not have time to go over each schedule in minute detail, and this is one of the reasons why we had our teachers record a video walking through their schedules for their grades. I realize some of you may not have seen that email. I believe it was sent out yesterday. So Mrs. Ramirez is going to take some time to help you make sense of them. And again, encourage you afterwards, check out those emails. Our teachers graciously explain some of the nuances of their own individual schedules. So Mrs. Ramirez, first, let me say thank you for all the work that you have done putting these schedules into place and creating them. Would you please take a few moments to clarify these schedules for our families and help them to understand what their students will be doing?
Absolutely. Headmaster Doughty, thank you so much for those kind words. I want to take a moment to express gratitude for all of the encouraging emails that the school has received over the past weeks and months as we have navigated these waters brought on by the COVID-19 pandemic. We're looking forward to when we can all safely return on campus. But as a working mom of four, 3 of them which come right here to Great Hearts Forest Heights with me, I'm very sympathetic to the decisions that many of you are needing to make, and also the unique challenges that your family may be facing during this time of distance learning. But just as Headmaster Doughty shared earlier, these schedules are designed to be both engaging so that we can maximize student learning, and flexible so that they can be adapted to meet your family's needs. My hope is that I'm able to clarify some points to help you better understand what your students are going to be doing on a daily basis. But before getting into the schedules, allow me to ease some of the tension that some of you may be feeling by acknowledging the fact that these schedules are purely a recommendation on how to do distance learning. While the content each day will be required, the times when these things are listed to occur are flexible. Due to the high level of asynchronous time, I am hopeful that the schedule will be flexible enough to accommodate any conflicts in your family schedules. The majority of all of the distance learning can be done at any time throughout the day, with just a few exceptions. So on a high level, I want to call attention to the commonalities between the grade level schedules. All students, kindergarten through 7th grade, will check into Google Classroom daily, not only to account for their attendance, but to also receive their videos and their tasks for the day. Now, each group of grades has a similar schedule, including the order of the subjects, the time per subject, and their end times for each day. For the most part, kindergarten through 5th grade, those students are going to be done with their required learning by lunch. And you'll notice that we've made the day shorter on Fridays. Now, kindergarten 1st and 2nd have very similar schedules, with the kindergarten schedule displayed right here on the screen for you. Special to kinder 1st and 2nd, you will see a rotation block that incorporates 3 things: a break, a literature lesson, and small group reading instruction. This is where your classroom teacher will provide individualized teaching and support that will help develop those foundational reading skills. Now, parents, please note that reading groups will not occur in the first couple of weeks of school. This time is going to be used instead to allow teachers to assess student reading levels, organize them into group, and plan some targeted instruction. And when the reading groups are ready to launch, the teachers will communicate those specifics with you. Now, 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade are also similarly organized. There's a 4th grade example on the screen here. Special to this group, we have weekly semi-small literature discussions or seminars on Fridays. These are recommended and will greatly extend your students' understanding of the great books that they've been reading throughout the week. I know I'm really excited about attending some of these, and I hope that your students make it a point to attend each week too. Lastly, you will note that our 2 upper grades, 6th and 7th, also look similar. Now, these students are a bit older, so their days are a bit longer. Their distance learning schedule actually mimics more closely the bell schedule of an in-person school. So there will be required learning after lunch. However, you'll notice a plethora of tutoring sessions available throughout the day from each of their teachers, so that they can get the targeted assistance they need in each of the content areas. Now, one phrase you'll notice referenced several times down that right-hand column is the words asynchronous video. This refers to the recorded videos that will be posted each morning for your scholar to watch their teacher, or possibly another teacher on the grade level teaching a lesson in a specific content area. Then the students will move into independent practice, where they will do just that, practice what they just learned. Another common phrase to our schedules is Synchronous Zoom. Now, this refers to live, real-time sessions that the teachers will host. The daily check-ins, reading groups, literature seminars, history discussions, science experiments, and all the tutoring will be facilitated in this format. Some of these Zoom sessions are recommended, and we strongly encourage your scholars to participate. These interactions are going to be key to helping the teacher gauge learning and allow for a deeper understanding of the material. Some of these sessions are optional, and our hope is that your scholar will make use of these as a way to further engage them in the curriculum, whether it's to receive tutoring or some enrichment. Now, the good thing is most of these sessions are offered several times a week, if not several times a day. So we're hopeful that your scholar will be able to attend a handful of these each week. Lastly, you will note that specials are included in the daily schedule, and for this, I'm truly excited. One of the unique characteristics of Great Hearts is how we approach our study of the arts. For K-5 students, they will have a daily specials activity rotating between the 4 offered on campus: Latin, art, PE, and music. Now, what I'm especially excited about is kindergarten through 5th grade students are all doing the same special on the same day, which means that for some days, the family can engage in these together and enjoy something that is both true, good, and beautiful. Now, 6th and 7th grade have daily Latin, and so they have a slightly different rotation dependent on their grade level, but you can see what that rotation looks like down on the bottom of their schedules. Falcon families, I know that distance learning is not ideal for most of you, but it's my sincerest hope that you'll find success in the flexibility offered and in the support that we as a school are really committed to giving you. Now I'm going to pass it off to Mrs. Ruiz, who is our special education coordinator. She's going to give you some more information about how our special education, 504, and English as a second language scholars will navigate this distance learning time. Mrs. Ruiz?
Thank you for that introduction, Ms. Ramirez. Good afternoon, Forest Heights families. As a parent of 2 Forest Heights students, one of whom receives services through a 504 plan, I understand how critical it is to know all of the specifics regarding how my student will receive the support he needs during distance learning. Parents, I'm here to assure you that all students who receive special education, English as a second language, 504 and related services will indeed receive support during distance learning. Our students with individual education plans and other forms of services will participate in synchronous and asynchronous classroom sessions just like their peers. Students will receive the support dictated by their IEPs and other learning plans throughout these digital learning experiences. This support will also include the same accommodations or modifications that their support teams have deemed critical for their success. Additionally, related service providers will be offering teletherapy for students eligible to receive speech therapy, occupational therapy, counseling, audiological services, and many more. Ultimately, because of the specialized nature of these services, it will be important for us to have individual conversations about your students. To this end, all students in special education, ESL and 504 programs will receive a phone call from a member of our student services team or a teacher who will be working closely with them throughout the year. During these phone calls, staff will be available to answer your questions about your student's schedule, as well as how they will receive their accommodations virtually. If the staff member you're speaking with does not have an immediate answer to your questions, they will make note and follow up after receiving clarification. Before I turn it over to Headmaster Doughty, I want to thank you again for your support. We love your children and we look forward to partnering with you to ensure their success throughout this school year, both digital and on-campus learning. Headmaster Doughty, over to you.
Mrs. Ruiz, I want to thank you for the love and care that you show and your colleagues show to our ESL, special ed, and 504 students. I know this spring, while we had a lot of changes, I know that our special ed teams and support teams truly had to do a lot of work, and I know our families really appreciate it. So hopefully by now, some of the new features, some of the features of the schedules will begin to make a bit of sense to you. We've looked very much just from the idea of the student. Now I want to transition to looking at these schedules through the lens of the family, your family. So first, you will notice that each grade has a daily recommended live check-in with their teacher. We have spaced these synchronous times to ensure that each grade's check-in is not at the same time. And let me just pause to reiterate what Mrs. Ramirez said. These are recommended. One of the things that many people might be concerned with right now is in terms of attendance. There will be multiple different ways which we will be accounting for when teachers when students are in attendance or are not in attendance. So it is not strictly going to be during these check-ins, although this is going to be one of the main ones. But we have spaced these times out so that each check-in is not at the same time. Also, we appreciate that our kinder and second grade students are going to require more assistance from their parents than their older siblings during these check-ins. So that's why K1 and 2 are all at different times. The second, and this is one of my favorites, family feature is our lunchtime. So when you look at the schedules together, we have ensured that these recommended schedules have at least a 45-minute shared block lunchtime. Back in the spring when my wife, and she's a master teacher at Northern Oaks, second grade teacher, and my 4 kids who are all Great Heart students, when we were engaged in distance learning, one of whom was actually completing his senior year as a distance learner, our lunchtime together became very significant. We want you as well to have that same opportunity. So for our kindergarten through 5th grade, the vast majority of their scheduled instruction is going to be done at that time. So lunch can serve almost as in some ways, a bit of an end of a day blessing. Also, though, our 6th and 7th graders, as you heard earlier, are going to continue on with some of their learning. But the afternoon for most is really going to be dedicated towards the synchronous Zoom tutoring. Now, tutoring, I want to say a few words about this. In a distance learning environment, is perhaps the most important way that our teachers can spend their time with your students. Tutoring is not only for those who are struggling to learn, especially in a distance learning environment. Tutoring becomes a primary way, apart from assessments, that our teachers will be able to know that your students know the content taught. Let me say that one more time, okay? Our tutoring becomes the most primary way, the most important way, apart from assessments, that our teachers will be able to know that your students know the content taught. So from small group to one-on-one, our teachers have provided hours of optional daily tutoring for your children. When your teacher contacts you later this week, they will be providing you with the specific details for their grade and the classes that they teach. So we now know how the schedules are going to work. We've given you some broad ideas about how these can work with all of your children together. And I'd like to invite Mrs. Ramirez back now to give you a vision for how it can look for you as a parents and guardians to support your children at home. So it's important to note, Mrs. Ramirez is a mom of 3 Forest Heights children, one of whom is in kindergarten, and is arguably also one of the top Spalding teachers and trainers in our network of schools. So Mrs. Ramirez, if you would, please take a few moments to share some of the best practices for supporting students at home in a distance learning environment.
Absolutely. For most of you, educating children in the ways of reading, writing, and arithmetic is not what you do for a living. And thus you find yourself struggling with the idea of how to now become a teacher on top of your role as a parent. One of the biggest suggestions I have for you is to embrace routines during this time. One of the many reasons that students find success at Great Hearts is the heavy emphasis we place on order. That is ensuring that the students know what happens, when it's going to happen, and how to behave when it does. Consider setting up a digital workspace for your child, wake them up at the same time every day, feed them a good breakfast, and then help them put on their uniform just like is a regular school day. Because yes, they do have to wear their uniforms during their Zoom sessions. Get them started early each day by helping them gather all of the materials and power on the computers. The more they engage with distance learning in a fixed, consistent way, the way that it was intended, the more successful they will be. Additionally, we ask that you make sure to prioritize scheduling time with them to meet with their teachers in their class and help them log in as needed. However, parents, we're not asking you to become their teachers. Our teachers love their jobs, and this format of learning has certainly taken its toll on them too. They would be absolutely heartbroken if you took the joy of teaching your children from them. They want to introduce your children to phonograms, to show them how to work with fractions, to introduce them to powerful literary characters, ancient cultures, and so much more. All we need you to do is make sure your child is up, prepared, and has scheduled the appropriate meetings with their teacher. Our talented and passionate teachers will just take it from there. Now, in regards to some specific subject area concerns you may have. As a classroom teacher, I love teaching phonics and reading, but this may be the biggest struggle you have at home. There will be asynchronous video for Spalding, which is our phonics curriculum in grades kindergarten through 5th grade. And our students will be following alongside their teacher as they complete their work. For this, I need you to do a couple of things. Make sure they're sitting up straight in scholar's position. They have a hard, flat surface to write on and a sharp pencil. Now, this will be a noisy time because each child from their own home will have their voice turned on, repeating the sounds and words alongside their teacher. So separating your school-age kids into separate places while they do this is probably a good idea. When you get ready to move into literature, especially for those younger grades, give them an audience. It could be a parent, a sibling, a pet, even a stuffed animal. Fluency in reading is best gained through reading out loud. Now, when they make a mistake with a word, stop them, have them slow down, and try to sound it out again. You can tell them the word after they've attempted it again, and having them tell you everything they remember about what they just read is a good yet easy way to work on comprehension at home. Next is math. Rest assured, we're equipping you with the teacher's magic tool, manipulatives. These tools, paired with whiteboards, videos, and textbooks, are going to allow your student to engage in math the same way they would in class. It is important to note that the way Great Hearts teaches math is not the way that us as parents may have learned or how students have experienced math at other schools. So when your students are struggling, have them read the problem out loud to you and then try it again. If they're still confused, have them mark the problem, and please feel free to utilize our daily offerings of live small group math tutoring to help clear up any of those misunderstandings. Here's an important one: take breaks. In class, it's not uncommon for teachers to do brain breaks as a way to refresh their body and mind. This can help increase a student's focus by getting that blood pumping again. Now, you will see some breaks are already built into our schedule, but every child is different, so feel free to insert more 5 to 10 minute short breaks as needed. These could be used to get a snack, do a few exercises, or go outside and get some fresh air. Lastly, and this is perhaps the most important, allow your children to make mistakes and to fail forward. During this time, teachers will be trusting your children to apply the honor system to their independent work and assessments. Parents, do not help your children through the assessments. I know as a parent, it is really hard to see your child struggle. However, it is the role of your child's teacher to utilize that information to determine where your child needs some additional assistance in order to help them find success. And we need to know where they're struggling, and we will not be able to find out that information if you do the work for them. Allow them to struggle, to grapple with new information, to make mistakes, because rest assured, we're going to be here to reteach and support their growth, because that's what we're here for, and we love what we do. I know I speak for Headmaster Doughty and the whole staff when I say that we are here for you. If you find yourself in the midst of distance learning and needing some assistance, please do not hesitate to reach out to your classroom teacher or myself. We care tremendously about the success of your children, our students, and we're committed to their learning and their growth during this challenging time. Back to you, Headmaster Doughty.
Mrs. Ramirez, thank you very much. And I'm so excited and thankful that you brought in this idea for our parents of failing forward. The reason why, parents, is one of the books that I asked our staff to read this summer was the book Mindset by the author Carol Dweck. In this book, Dweck challenges this idea that abilities and talents are just mere qualities that you were born with. You may have seen the movie series that was on ESPN about the great athlete Michael Jordan. And it's interesting. He is one of the greatest athletes, but he's also someone who put in arguably the most work. So which was it? Was it work? Was it effort? Was it his natural skills and abilities? And this is one of the things that Dweck dives into, is she demonstrates that when we see challenges as opportunities, our ability to grow increases significantly. What is most important is that this truly is a mindset. This is an attitude. This is a belief that is formed. No, not strong enough. This is a belief and an attitude that is taught. And it's something that I'm challenging our teachers to see their role in and how they are forming and teaching the mindset of our students. So I want to encourage you to do the same thing with your own children. One way that you can do this is allow them to fail. What do I mean by that? Well, when they hand in their homework and their independent practice onto Google Classroom and you see that there's mistakes, let them. As Mrs. Ramirez says, maybe just ask them, hey, curious, explain that problem to me. But don't let on that it's a mistake. See if they can talk it out. And then for assessments, just allow them to get an answer wrong. And that's okay. It's our teachers' jobs to go in and to connect those aspects of learning. And if they don't see where your students are struggling, it's going to be very difficult for them to provide the help that they need. So together, let's focus on cultivating an entire community of growing children. So a few dates right now. On Friday, August 11th, we will begin our student supply pickup here at school, along with our device pickup for those of you who are borrowing some computers. Some of you have probably wondered, all right, how you're going to do math manipulatives and math without the manipulatives. And Mrs. Ramirez said we are going to be providing those as well. So our teachers are making lists, and currently they're stuffing fabric bags graciously provided by RBFCU. So first, a shout out to Mrs. Yvette Reyna. Thank you so much for allowing us to send home supplies this year in nice fabric bags rather than garbage bags that we did last spring. I'm sure everybody will appreciate them. Details and how this pickup is going to go will be published by midweek. But parents, you can expect to not have to leave your vehicle, but will be a bit of a drive-through, and you'll be able to pick up your child's required books and any reserved devices. Also, all of our faculty and staff will be outside, so feel free to load the kids into the car so that they can wave at their teachers. We will be waving back. And in terms of teachers, what about meet the teacher? So we know that your child is going to want to meet their teacher, and I'm going to let you in on something. Our teachers really, really want to meet their students. So this event is going to be held on Monday, August 10th and August 11th. And we will hold these events multiple times throughout the day to ensure that you and your child can attend. We know that many of you are still working and you still have different schedules and you can't come during the day, or some of you can't come in the evening. So we're going to have a lot of flexibility there. Your child's teacher will be contacting you later this week with details, so please stay tuned. Now, finally, our campus will be offering technology orientation. Our goal here during this time is for your grade levels teachers. They are going to be meeting with you to help introduce you to some of these tools that you will be using for your distance learning. Again, this is going to be held digitally, and more information will be coming to you by midweek. All right, with all of that firmly on your calendars, the final thing that we want to discuss is our return to campus on Tuesday, September 8th. And I have to tell you, I am eager for that day when we actually have students on our campus again. This building, it's empty. It's empty when there's no kids. So although we don't want to take too much time discussing this plan, we do want you to be aware of the safety precautions that are being implemented daily at this campus. So let me start off with a few things. First, Great Hearts has replaced many of all of our standard HVAC, AC, ventilation system filters with newer, higher grade filters that many hospitals and laboratories use. We have also hired a third day porter who is going to be assisting with increased disinfection of play structures, door handles, other frequently handled items. Also, our schedule of daily and weekly cleanings, deep cleanings, has also increased significantly. And hand sanitizers have been installed throughout the campus. You can't go too far without being able to get a squirt of some sanitizer. Also, as was discussed on the Great Hearts Texas Zoom, our kinder through third grade classes will also have their desk shields. And so these shields will be around 3 sides of their desk. And the reason is we want to increase the safety for our students, but we also know that the little ones are going to have the hardest time with masks. And the state has said that they don't need to wear them. So we have the desk shields in place, which I know is going to make many of our families more comfortable. But what we are going to do is we're going to be providing those kinder through third grade students with a Forest Heights branded neck scarf, or gaiter is what they're called in some places. And the idea of this, we strongly encourage these students to use it because it will, when they leave their desk, they can quickly put it up over their nose and mouth, go to the restroom, go to recess, wash their hands, etc. And then when they get out to recess or they get to the bathroom, they can put it down and take care of business. And we hope that this is going to prevent droppage into sinks, or, let's be honest, other less sanitary locations. All right, enough about that. The other thing that it's important to note is that with many of our families choosing to utilize our distance learning option right from the start, our class sections are going to be socially distant. So all desks will be facing the same way, and our students will even be staying as much as possible in the same classroom throughout the day. We're even working through strategic plans to help students move throughout because they're going to need to go to art for art and the NPR for their physical education. And so we're even managing how the students are going to be traveling in the hallway to minimize some of those cross-class interactions. Also, it is our plan that only one grade at a time will be allowed in the multi-purpose room, which means we'll be using it at less than half capacity. So, and even in that, there's the desks and the cafeteria tables. There will be dots where students can't sit that will help to maintain the appropriate social distance when their masks are down for eating. So our students are going to be rotating between lunch and the multi-purpose room. They can use their classroom as well. And then also, if the weather is nice, the new turf field. So here's the thing. Over the summer, we had a turf field installed next to the playground. If you haven't been by yet, I highly encourage you. You owe it to yourself. This is a beautiful field. Our staff have been using it for lunch, eating outside. So when the weather's nice and it's not too hot, classes will definitely be taking advantage of that, and also, of course, using it at recess as well. Additionally, our network will be sending home a set of procedures for each family to follow while they are at home, and our faculty are going to be following the same thing. One of those things is going to be a daily temperature check. This is just one of a whole host of procedures that we have adopted to ensure every child's safety. And please rest assured that we are taking every precaution that we can to keep our children and our faculty and our staff safe. So to this end, please take a moment to complete the survey indicating whether you will return to campus or opt to participate in distance learning. I know many of you have already submitted your responses. So if you would like to edit them based on information that you've received today, please know that you can do so by the end of day on Wednesday, August 5, which is in 2 days. So we look forward to hearing from you and finding out. So the remainder of our time is we have it dedicated for questions. And one of the first questions that I wanted to engage with today. So last week, things got a little confusing midweek as the Attorney General and then our local health authorities and the governor and the mayor were all having some conversations, let's just leave it at that, about whether it was legal or not to restrict schools from opening. At any rate, Great Hearts, Texas and our board has determined that we will be not be opening on August 12th, but we will be opening on August 8th. And so I just wanted to clarify that. I know many of you still had questions, concerns, comments. I'm just a lowly headmaster. So there are some decisions that are completely out of my control, but I also want to acknowledge again, I really do, the position that this 3 weeks of immediate online start means for you. I know for many of you, it's really, really difficult. And that's one of the reasons why our schedule has been designed to be so flexible, is that you can do it at any time. It's a recommended schedule, and there are pieces and parts there that you're going to need to do, but it's also something that that ideally can fit with how your family needs to work things. So there's that. And then there's another question here. I want to read this. We received a number of questions from those who asked questions earlier. And so the question is this: one of the things we love about classical curriculum is that it's not influenced by the latest educational fads and newest technology. How will Great Hearts uphold tried and true teaching practices while introducing so much technology? This is a great question. I know many of you who started off the year doing tours with me at Western Hills remember me saying quite passionately, look into these rooms. and look around. All we have is an LCD projector and the teacher's laptops and a dot cam. That's it as far as technology. We love our pencils. We love our whiteboards. We don't do smart boards. And now every student has a computer. So this is a good question. I think one of the things that's really, really important when we think of classical education, classical pedagogy, what's at the heart of this is we want our students to discover truth, goodness, and beauty. What is true? I go back to our mission statement. We exist in the hearts and minds of our students in the pursuit of truth, goodness, and beauty. See, it's real easy in any kind of educational environment to just present information and then say, memorize it. And then we give a test. And then we check our box as educators. They've learned this. It's another thing entirely to pose problems, ask questions, allow students to wrestle, sometimes fail, sometimes needing to be encouraged to press on, to develop some grit and effort. And then they learn themselves. And so this aspect of teaching can still happen in a distance learning environment through the vehicle of the computers. A lot of that is going to be on you as parents, making sure that you don't short circuit things or saying, I don't know how to do long division that way. Let me show you how I did it at home. Don't do that. Don't short circuit their learning. It might be a good thing to say, I know how to do that my way, but I'm going to let you ask your teacher how to best explain that. And maybe you will want to sit in the background and watch and learn something as well. I know I've been encouraged being able to go through a lot of our curriculum as a teacher and as a parent. But the other thing as well is when we are in a distance learning environment, and sure, our communication tool is going to be Google Classroom and Zoom. I don't want our kinder through 7th grade students sitting there typing. So a lot of what we're going to be doing is they will receive the assignment. It will be on their page. Sometimes there are some things that are going to be in your packets of paper tests that we're going to get you to pick up on Friday. Well, the end of this Friday. That's Friday the 7th. Friday the 7th, I think. And they'll be taking it on paper, and then you'll take a photo of it and upload it. And so the handoff is still going to be digital, but the work is still going to be in paper, because at the end of the day, there is no way, well, there is, it just takes a long time to try to answer a long bar model question or to do some algebraic work and try to represent that with characters. At least I'm not able to type that fast and to do it that efficiently. So we'll still be primarily using pencils, paper, just we'll be using the digital mediums as a way of communicating those. So one thing, speaking of at home, Mrs. Ramirez, I have a question here that was given to us. Oh, where is it? Where did it go? Hold on. Wait. Sorry, parents, you're watching me as I'm looking at papers, and there's only 3 of them, but I can't remember where it went. Mrs. Ramirez. So, will our scholars have equivalent handwriting practice during distance learning as they would if they were in school? And so I know that you love our Spalding. So the question again is this: will our scholars have equivalent handwriting practice during distance learning as they would if they were in school? So would you mind take a few moments to address that topic to our parents?
Yes, Headmaster Doughty, that's something that the teachers and I have had a lot of conversation about over the last couple of weeks where they've been back on campus. Is how do we do handwriting? How are we going to do Spalding? Because so much of it is interaction between the teachers and the apprentice teachers and the students in the classroom. And I don't want to miss a beat with that at home. So there will be handwriting instruction. There will be a lot of narration in the asynchronous videos your students are watching of the teacher describing how to form the letter, actually writing and forming the letter while your students are doing it in real time with them. So it's a recorded video, but there's pauses inserted in the video for the students to do the writing right after they've seen it modeled, and then be able to look at their paper, look at the screen and say, did I do this really well? Oh no, maybe I need to cross it out and try it again. So it's something we're trying to modify to be able to use the digital medium to still uphold our high expectations. And I'm really excited that our teachers are putting so much thought into it because handwriting is important. Headmaster Doughty.
Thank you, Mrs. Ramirez. I appreciate that. And our handwriting is really important. I love on tours telling people to look up just handwriting studies. And I know over the last couple of years, whether it's the Wall Street Journal or other interesting newspapers and whatnot, just espousing the benefits of learning to handwrite. So we are still committed to that. And so I would encourage you, remember parents, we hold the pencil with a C and it's a light grip, not hard, so that the students can learn how to write well. So there's a question here that came in this morning and it says, can we start before 8 a.m.? Bless you. I also received an email last week at the end of last week saying, can we please, why do we do school starting at 7:50? The business world is 9 to 5. Why can't we do school 9 to 5? I have no argument with that question either. Why we start at 7:30 or why I have to get up at 7. Again, I don't know, and I'm not the one that makes the decisions. As far as distance learning is concerned, again, it's a recommended schedule. So we strongly encourage you to create an ordered environment. One of the things, actually, I was just doing a bit of a webinar with another school that I used to work at in Arizona, talking with their staff about discipline. And one of the keys to discipline that we have at our school is we believe that discipline begins with order. And the goal of order isn't just order. The goal is actually joy in our kids, in your children. And we want that to be the same for you as well. So as to when you start, that's up to you. However, what I would encourage you to do, insofar as it's possible, is to create a routine. Have your students up, have them have breakfast, get their morning chores done if they have some, and they should, and then have them make sure that they're in their uniforms, because that's what they're going to be wearing, especially when they're on synchronous Zooms. That's going to be required. But I would even encourage you, when they are doing their work at home, have them in that uniform. It's a mindset in terms of, I now am wearing the uniform that it goes along with the work that I'm doing. And then try to encourage them to keep to a schedule throughout the day. The more routines that they have, the more normalized that is, the better they're going to be able to accomplish that. It can be a challenge, especially for those of us who we sort of fly by the seat of our pants on a regular basis. Your children will benefit very well from this. All right, so let me see. All right, so Mrs. Ramirez, there's a question here from online. I'm going to send it to you. Will the distance learning schedule change when we return to on-campus learning? Okay, so the distance learning schedule, is the schedule that we talked about this week just for these 3 weeks? What about distance learning schedule when and after September 7?
Great question. It's something that I set my mind to create as little change as possible once school started. And our desire is that when we have kids back on campus beginning September 8th, that the distance learning schedule won't actually need to change very much. The one biggest lift for you to know is that our distance learning students will operate 1 day behind the brick and mortar students, the ones that are here on campus. And that's just so that we can record the teacher's teaching and have time to upload it into Google Classroom. But the schedule, the time required to do it will all be the same. And putting them 1 day behind allows for the students who are doing distance learning to get the same engaging equivalent teaching as the students in class. So short answer, no, not really. We're set out to give this great curriculum to every single one of our students, whether they're here or at home.
Mrs. Ramirez, thank you very much for that answer. So a couple questions here regarding masks. So again, it's our kindergarten through 3rd grade students who will not be mandated to wear masks all day. 4th grade and above, they will be wearing masks all day long, just like our staff right now are all in masks or shields or both all day long. Our 4th through 7th grade students will be. So there's one question that was said that said, can we send big kids to the school with desk shields. As to whether we can, I don't know. I'm actually going to have to get to find out about that. But our teachers are committed, and it's going to be part of their responsibilities to make sure that all of our students 4th through 7th grade are wearing them and are wearing them properly. So none of those masks that are, kind of hanging out below the nose. No, they got to be up and over. And in terms of masks, I see here solids or patterns. Be honest, I'm kind of nervous about this. Please, I jest. This is not the time to get our inner Pinterest on and start getting creative, bedazzling fabric and whatnot to make fancy things for the students. Just like our uniform, it should be understated. And this is a part of the uniform. So everybody who does come to the brick and mortar, they will be given a neck gaiter. And we strongly encourage our kindergarten through 3rd grade students to use that. Again, because it rests on their neck, it stays all the way around their neck the whole time. When they need it on, they lift it up. When they don't need it, they'll bring it down. That way it doesn't fall into sinks and other places. I don't think I have to spend more time on that, but it's so masks, plain please, and do keep them clean. But our teachers will be making sure that they do that. There's another question here that I wanted to get to, which is has to do with recess. So this is one of the ones that was sent in. How will lunch recess time look for the kids? How much interaction will they get with students not in their classroom? A similar question was, will kindergartners be able to play at recess as usual, or will it be required to be social distanced? Will they be required to wear masks at recess? So a couple things about our school. I think more than any other kind of schooling, a classical liberal arts school is based on relationships. At the foundation of our school is human relationships. When you read Plato's Republic, and our students will when they get to the high school level, the academy is often described as the teachers they have a how do I want to say this? I lost my train of thought. The teachers at the academy, there is a culture of learning that the teachers themselves are engaged with. And what they do is they invite their students to participate in what already exists amongst the faculty. And that really is what we do at Great Hearts, is we spend time as faculty, not just studying Singapore and mathematics, but we'll also be reading text together. This year, our faculty is going to be reading through many of Shakespeare's plays, and we study and we read poems and we have seminars together as staff. So that relationship is critical to how we do school. But also we play together, we have fun together, and we do things together as a faculty. And we want our students to be able to do that as well. You can't remove relationships from education. So yes, recess will be available, and our recess areas are now larger. We have the field, and they are going to be cleaned much more often. Kindergarten tends to be socially distanced at recess anyways. They kind of run around a lot and they move, which is really, really good. They want to get their wiggles out. But yes, we're not going to be, when students try to gather together in close-knit things, we'll be encouraging them to spread apart. So will they be having recess? Absolutely. And again, if I could just remind you, the gaiters are going to be really important, because that way they bring their mask down and they can go and run around, and we're not having our teachers trying to hold on. And actually they won't be holding on. Your students are going to have to manage that all if they come with other masks. So that's just not something that I can have my teachers do, is try to, in a sanitary way, hold on to all of those masks at the same time. All right, so that's lunch and recess. So let me hear some of the questions. All right, Mrs. Ramirez, this is a good one. How do I prepare my kindergartner for distance learning for Synchronous Zoom? I'd like to know the answer to this. No, but seriously, would you mind taking a couple moments and answering that question? How do we prepare our kindergartners for Synchronous Zoom?
That's a really good question, one that I find myself asking for my kindergartner as well. Here's a couple of things that I found to work really well with the young students last year. And so I'm hoping that as a parent, I'll be able to incorporate them this year and that you can use them as well. One of the things is our teachers are going to be doing some family tech orientation. And I encourage you, if you have younger students, Parents sit down with them, walk through the tech orientation with them, and little by little begin to transition them using the mouse to mute and unmute themselves. It's a learning curve. However, I think after a few weeks of this, if you choose to do distance learning long term, that your students will be able to start to know where to click and what to do. One of the other things I'm really excited about is our kindergarten teachers have lots of things planned for their synchronous Zoom meetings. They're going to be doing the calendar math that they would usually do in class. I've heard they have some literature stuff planned. And sometimes it's just a good thing to get together and let them practice taking turns talking. In class, we wouldn't have all 30 students speaking about something at the same time. And we plan on teaching those practices during our synchronous Zooms as well. Will it be a little funny? Absolutely. Is there going to be an important button on the teachers that says mute all participants? Absolutely. But I'm sure that through practice, the kindergartners will be able to do it. One note I would say, when your kindergartner, possibly even your first and second grader, are in synchronous Zooms, it's going to be really important for someone to be sitting by to help them. They are going to require some assistance, but it could just be an older sibling who knows how to run their synchronous Zoom. So parents, just please keep that in mind when you're scheduling them. There are several same sessions offered throughout the day. And so hopefully you're able to get them dialed into one each day, and we'll have someone there to support them. But it's going to be interesting, Headmaster Doughty. I'm not going to pretend that it won't.
No, I know what our kindergartners are like here at the school, and we love them. They are the cutest little things around. And so again, parents, take a deep breath. I encourage you, take a deep breath, and don't put too much pressure on yourself. Talk with your teachers. Maybe it'll be good for you to have a synchronous Zoom with one of the teachers and ask some questions. And we have some really experienced kindergarten teachers who are just fantastic, and they can help provide some really amazing assistance. And our my assistant headmaster, Mrs. Ramirez, she said it herself. She's in the same position. She has a tiny little kindergartner. Her skirt, I think, comes down to her ankles, and she's also in the same place. So please use this as a support. So in terms of teaching, there's a question that's posted online. If we do distance learning, will the teacher change when we return? This is a fantastic question. So initially, when we got our surveys that many of you participated in a couple of weeks ago, a question was asked, will you be returning? And so we got about a 50-50 at that time. And so one of the things that we realized is when you are working in a regular classroom on our campus, and the students are on our campus, what we've called brick and mortar, but they're on our campus, the teacher is busy from 7:30 in the morning until 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and doesn't have the opportunity to do synchronous Zooms because they're teaching literature or math or science, or they're preparing for the next day's lesson. So those students who are going to be in our distance learning environment are going to have a dedicated teacher that is going to be taking care of their synchronous Zoom tutorings and such. However, one of the things you'll notice when the videos start coming next week is there's only going to be one Spalding video for all of first grade. We're going to take one of our best teachers in all of these subjects and all of the grades, and we are going to have them be the ones to do the Spalding or the Singapore or the science or the history. Some of the teachers you may see 2-3 times a day. Other grades, they may just have one person doing each of the different ones. So the asynchronous video, your students are going to see a lot of teachers, which is really, really good. In the first 3 weeks, all of them are going to also have a dedicated homeroom teacher, and we're not going to be making these sections up for the homeroom and for the distance learning until after this Wednesday. So it is our hope, my sincere hope, that when your student starts in distance learning on August 12th, that regardless of whether they stay in brick and mortar, on campus, whether they return to school or whether they stay at home, is that their section teacher, who will be taking care of their tutorings and some of those more intimate one-on-one and small group sessions, won't change. And then actually related to the tutoring. So Mrs. Ramirez, I know I talked a little bit about tutoring. I know you talked a little bit about tutoring. would you mind taking another couple of minutes to discuss what tutoring is, what it's for? Is it one-to-one? And what are many of the different ways that tutoring can actually work for the students at home?
Yes, tutoring is by far going to be one of the most important things each day. Our teachers are planning about 2 hours of tutoring time a day for students, but there's different types of tutoring offered. So there will be some one-on-one tutoring offered, kindergarten through 5th grade especially, because some students will struggle in one area but not another, and I want to be able for teachers and students to use their time effectively to solve any concerns and questions that may be happening at home. The one-on-one tutoring is going to happen for about an hour and a half each day in 15-minute chunks. So the teacher can see a lot of students every single day. Then there is small group math tutoring revolving around whatever the lesson was that day. So several students may have the same question, and talking through it with your peers can be a very effective way to problem solve and discover the right path to the solution. And so there will be that sort of tutoring as well. Some best practices for tutoring, I think, is making sure that you understand as parents this year, the tutoring will not lock in advance like it did in the spring. In the spring, we were trying to figure out some sort of consistency in our schedules. And so you had to sign up for tutoring oftentimes 1 or 2 days in advance to be able to attend. This year, it will not be like that. You're doing math in the morning, most of our families from about 9 to 10. And if you have a math question, I want you to be able to sign up for that math tutoring that's going to happen after lunch that same day. I don't want your student to stay home frustrated and confused. So the tutoring is going to be a more quick response than it was last year as well. Now, reading groups will also serve as a sort of tutoring for our kindergarten through 2nd grade, because you will be grouped with students who are essentially on the same level, working through the same skills. And so that becomes an additional tutoring that kindergarten through 2nd grade students will be able to attend 2 to 3 times a week as well. So there's a lot of different options. I'm excited that our teachers are going to be this available for parents and for students each day. So be sure to look out for your teachers and your grade levels information for specifics about tutoring. But I'm excited that we're offering so much.
Mrs. Ramirez, thank you. Now there's a question that came in from the chat, which is, how do we create a successful home learning space? And I'm going to actually get our special ed coordinator, Mrs. Ruiz, to answer this. So Mrs. Ruiz, I know that you work with some of our special students, and they specifically often will need very structured environments in terms of schedule, in terms of locations and what's available and what's in their sight lines and different things like that. So if you wouldn't mind, because let's be honest, those disciplines that are critical for some of our students with autism and other challenges are actually really beneficial for our general education students who don't struggle with those things. So would you mind, as a SPED coordinator, helping our parents to understand how to best create some spaces at home to really promote the distance learning for their students?
Sure. That's a great question. Parents, keep in mind that when you're planning your workspace for your child, it doesn't have to look like a classroom, but specifically for students who need the consistency, it's best to find one location that is ultimately in a quiet space, away from so many distractions. I don't know if you'd be able to put some type of curtain or divider to kind of make a designated little pod area for them. Find the right workspace, make sure it's comfortable. Best thing to do is ask your student, do you feel comfortable here? You know, can you focus? Are there too many things on the walls? You might want to take some things off the walls if they say, no, it's too distracting. Find the right chair. Comfort is everything for a student with ADHD or autism. Make sure that, you know, it allows for wiggle room. One thing that we like to use in our classrooms is our bouncy balls, yoga balls, sit on. It not only helps with posture, but it also helps them to kind of be able to move while learning. It's super comfortable. They love those bouncy chairs. What else? Set up your supplies nearby. Make sure that everything is accessible to them so that they don't have to keep, getting up out of their seat to go find their paper and their pencils and their scissors. Make sure that you have just one bucket of all the supplies that they need right at their fingertips. Make a designated space for them to turn in their work. Just put a little bin by their desk and so that they can put it there and so that you can help them scan it, at the end of the work day or the school day. What else? Go outside, allow them breaks. Parents, if they can't sit through a lesson, that's okay. As professional teachers, we know we know our students so well. We can see it. We can see their body language. We know when they need a break. So don't think that they have to get through the full lesson without getting up to stretch or getting up for a water break and coming back to it. Give them some grace. They need that time. They need to move. They need a break. Break up the tasks. Tell them, hey, we're going to work on math, this lesson for 10 minutes. Some of them, it may only be 5 minutes, 10 minutes. And then we're going to take a short break and then we come back to it. For students with special education, with special education needs, 504 plans, they do need those accommodations. So in their IEPs or IAPs, you'll see a list of accommodations that we typically use or that we're required to use in the classroom. So you can do those same things. So have a copy of your IEP or IAP available, reference it a lot. If we're going to talk to you, we're going to call you this week and we're going to go over the plan and give you more ideas on how to assist them during distance learning. But the most important thing is to just, provide a lot of light, make sure there's consistent, a consistent schedule, a designated space that they're comfortable in. Mr. Doughty?
Mrs. Ruiz, thank you very much for that answer. And I know when I went to college, one of the things that I actually had to do a bit of a remedial how to study class. And a lot of the things that Mrs. Ruiz was talking about was exactly that. A couple other things, parents, that I would encourage. TV should be off. And in terms of music, music that doesn't have words, classical music is arguably the best, instrumental. Anytime there's words going on in the background, it's very difficult for our brains to focus, or it can be difficult for our brains to focus on the words that are in front of us versus the words that are floating around. So we don't have much time left. So I do want to address a couple of things here. So will there be another town hall before we return for August 12th? No. So this is the last town hall that we have prior to August 12th. But before September 8th, it is my plan, and I promise that we will have another Forest Heights Town Hall to discuss some of the more details of what we're going to be doing. Probably won't be an hour, but we will definitely have a town hall. So before I close, just a couple of things. First, parents, thank you so much for taking the time. Thank you for choosing our school. Again, it's really important for us that you have taken and you've chosen Great Hearts Forest Heights to be the place where your children get educated. And I know that they're educated in your living room right now or at your kitchen table. But we really thank you for choosing our school and continuing with us in that. So a couple of clarifying dates. This Friday, August 7, we will have our supply pickup and our computer pickup, and we'll be sending you home with all of the things necessary for your students to do work. And just also an aside here, while we do want you to be sensitive to the needs of your students, if they need to wiggle a bit or if they need to get up and go to recess and other things, that's good. But I also want to encourage you in terms of growth, in terms of effort. Our teachers are going to do a very good job of keeping the screen time to a minimum, allowing them to do a lot of work in their books, and have, as much as possible, the distance learning environment be a mirror image or as close to that as possible as what they would have in the classroom. So sometimes your students just need to bear down a little bit and work a little harder and to develop a little bit more perseverance. And other times, yes, they do need a break. but you're their parents, and we trust that you can manage that well. Just sometimes we need encouragements. So August 10 is going to be our Meet the Teacher. And I was just clarified for me, August 11 is going to be the day that we're going to be doing our tech orientation. So again, August 7, supply pickup and the computer pickup will be there. August 10 is going to be our Meet the Teacher. August 11 is going to be our tech orientation. So we will be sending an email midweek with our supply pickup instructions. And then by the end of this week, you'll be getting an email, receiving an email, and most likely a phone call from your students, your child's teachers. And then also we will have other emails as well. So again, if you've not watched the Great Hearts Texas Town Hall that was from last Monday, strongly encourage you to do that. And then also we are sending out emails on a regular basis, as our interim superintendent, Dan Scoggin, right now. And one last question, someone did ask, are we going to be in person on August 8th? I'm just going to refer to what he said, and he said, yes, we will be on campus on September 8th, sorry, September 8th. On September 8th, the latest that we have heard is that we will be on campus and have that available. Now, can that change? It's 2020. Lots of stuff have happened. So with that, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. On behalf of Mrs. Ramirez, Mrs. Ruiz, and the rest of our staff, thank you for taking the time to join us today, and have a great Monday.